All right, Coach Josh Greco back here with Dr. Bob. Dr. Bob, this has been the longest hiatus that we've experienced. I'm looking forward to catching up with you and hearing about your summer and what's been going on. Maybe just catch me up a little bit.
Yeah, I'm still battling with this health issue. It's getting better, but what I decided to do, Josh, is I have two appointments with the Mayo Clinic in Scottsdale. I've got one coming up the end of this month, and that has to do with this combination of long COVID and the former leukemia that I had last year. And then in November, I have a cardiac assessment out there. Make sure that everything is as good as it can be. I am getting better. I know that. I mean, but I'm still not where I think I can be. So I want to try and further my my position as best I can.
Yeah.
When you're getting older, as Dr. Bob is right now, you really have to watch every damn thing that you do and eat and exercise and whatnot. Watching my weight, thank God my weight is stabilized. Although I would like to take off some more weight, but yeah, it's been good. Everybody in the family has been good. I went to my wife and I took some time off. We went to Wyoming for a week. Went to Grand Tetons, quite a place. Jackson Hole. Jackson Hole is a place that everybody should go to at least once. It's just a fabulous place, fabulous. And then from there we went to Colorado. We were in Denver for a while, visiting our niece and nephew there, and that's pretty much it. We're going to be doing some traveling in November and December with the family, but other than that, it's been good. I've been working on a couple of different programs.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to get this book off the ground, and it's going to be a very meaningful book. And for some reason, the universe is slowing me down, Josh. And I think that the illnesses that I've been experiencing, I think that's all part of a timing thing. I really, I'm trying to analyze myself and my behavior and the way things are going and the way I'm being blocked in certain areas. And, is it me? Is it something else, So I'm just keeping myself open and dealing with my family mostly. These new programs that we're almost finished with are going to be very, very significant, Josh. They're going to health-wise. They will, in effect. Let me just briefly tell you about them. The one that I'm really excited about is this body sensing system, whereby there's a series of questions you plug into this app that we created, and there's a series of questions about a particular body organ, your heart, your liver, your lungs, whatever. And at the end of the question period, within a minute, you get a printout of how that particular organ is doing, right? And then you could do the same thing with that organ relative to your entire system. And you can do this, it's cheap enough, we're building it cheap enough so that you can have an ongoing program. We'll have a file for the individual so that they can see over a period, not only at that particular moment, but over a period of time, if there's any deterioration, if there's improvement, if it's staying steady. And that's important. It doesn't, it's analytical. It doesn't tell you that you're going to be well or you're going to be sick. It just tells you what's going on. Where are you? And you can, I've talked to a few of my doctor friends, and they like it because anytime you show statistically what's going on with an organ or oneself, it's helpful to their assessment of your situation,
Mhm.
So lately, what's happened is this. We discovered that particular program can also be used to determine how vitamins, meds, food are impacting you. So, I know everybody has the situation where you have a relative says, "Oh, you should take this. Yeah, it's good for your stomach," and then somebody else says, "You can't take that because it's not good for your heart," or something. Well, this program you'll be able to take that item and actually see what the impact is on whatever your entire body, your heart, your head, whatever. So I'm very excited about that. I'd say, and we have something going on with Google with that particular program.
Hmm.
So we're very, very close. I mean, we got the technology defined. So now it's a matter of just getting everybody on board and putting everything together. So that's probably one of the more exciting things that's going on, as well as some, a couple of other things that
Oh, I love that.
you like.
Yeah, lots going on. And well, frequency and vibration and all those topics are my cup of tea there. So yeah, I love all that stuff.
Yeah, well, that's exactly what it's all about.
Oh, yeah.
And so we're keeping busy. But getting back to the book,
Yeah, so you're experiencing blocks. It's not going as quickly as you'd like, but you feel like it's all sort of in alignment with a greater plan that you're not exactly sure about, but you know that it's probably part of the process.
yeah. At one time I thought that maybe this colleague of mine that we go off and on with each other might come in on the book with me, but I don't think so. I don't think so. But I know that it's a significant. The book is, the subject matter is important. It's much needed, Josh, and I think it would be beneficial to a great part of the a great part of the planet, because it's something that most people are dealing with and can't find. Now I'll tell you. I'll just give you the title, and I think it'll give you an idea. It's the purpose of being is
Wow.
the title of the book. Okay,
Yeah.
and if you've heard of that very successful book, A Purpose-Driven Life,
Oh, yeah.
which was a great book. Well, this is a little deeper. This gets into more specifics and more meaning, that book has a lot to do with God. This has a lot to do with man's relationship with God. You know, too many times we depend on, we bail out, you know, oh, it's God's will, or oh, you know, if God wants this for me, you know, well, that's not necessarily always the case. Maybe a lot less than what we think, you know.
Mhm.
So this book kind of lays it all out, and I think that there's something else that I'm working on with the mind science that I'm starting to put in place that I think is very important for this book, and I think that that's what's holding me back from,
Aha.
you know, from taking a proper direction. So that's where I'm at. But I'd like to hear what's going on with you. What do you, or if you have any particular uh, questions or issues that you
Yeah.
want.
Well, I have questions, so but I can share, and we'll come back to some of those things for sure. But yeah, on a personal level, summer's been great. The coaching practices continuing to pick up with more clients and more people who are seeking to better themselves. You know, that's the world I live in, and I love it. And I've also realized that coaching people and getting coaching hours and repetition also forces me in a good way to improve myself and to be reflective about myself and to be mindful about myself and my progress. So there's been a lot of that since the last time we talked, and it continues to progress. And you know, by the calendar, we're heading into Q4, right? So there's like holiday season coming up, and you know, just I've been reflective about the goals that I set for myself at the beginning of the year, and aligning myself over the next 3 months to make sure I accomplish those. So in a professional nutshell, that's what's going on there. Of course, the podcast that I run, still haven't missed a week in over 2 years. So we're just releasing episode, I want to say is 110, and there's more in the hopper. And yeah, on a personal side, I've shared in the past that I'm involved in the street hockey scene here in Charlotte. And I can't remember if I shared this though. Our adult program got invited to participate in a national hockey league called the National Ball Hockey League, the NBHL. And our season was from March to August, and we played in the Carolina division, and we ended up winning that in our
Oh,
first year. Yeah, which punched our ticket to the national tournament, which just took place last month in September. And Dr. Bob, we actually won. We won. We're national champions.
holy smoke! Now this is street hockey.
This is deck hockey, which is street hockey, just on feet. Yep, we're running.
Terrific. Well, congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah. So this
And
organization has been.
are you like the head coach, or?
I captain the team. I'm the captain of the team. Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah.
terrific. We got ourselves an all-purpose athlete here. Great golfer and now hockey. Yeah, that's terrific. It's good that you're physically involved. It's the one thing that I miss, but
Mm.
I'm definitely going to get back into it soon. But good, great, congratulations. Okay,
Yeah. Thank you.
do we get a parade for you guys or anything like that?
Well, I'll tell you what, that what we're, you know, what this win means for the region of Charlotte is much bigger than it could mean for even our team or myself. So we're trying to use this momentum to expand our reach and our capacity and the facilities that we play at, so that we can grow the game. And we have a youth program that, you know, was following along and watching us, and that was the best thing that could have happened to what we have going on here. So I'm really excited about the potential and the future of our organization here.
What's the age group of the players?
Yeah, so the adult league is 16 and over, but our youth program is kids anywhere from the ages of 4 to 15.
Oh my God.
Yeah, we've got enough registrations in the age range of 4 to 6 years old that we have two teams, and there's, you know, maybe 8 kids on each side, and it's the most hilarious thing you've ever seen. You know, some of these helmets that they're wearing are bigger than the kids, but they're running
Yeah.
around having a blast out there. They love it.
Yeah. And that's terrific. I'm proud of you. Proud of you. Very good job.
Thank you.
Great job. Well, you do good work anyway, so that's terrific.
It's
That's
very,
terrific.
it's very rewarding. So this is the, the combination of a passion of mine combined with, giving back to it. I spend a lot of time building the infrastructure and making sure the right leadership is in place. And this is the fruits. This is the part that we enjoy here. The kids actually having a good time. So it's always fun.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Very nice, Josh. Good.
So that mixed in with some golf. I did play some golf in recent weeks, and I don't know. I'm excited that the energies of the year have started to shift. We've already reached the equinox, and days are getting shorter, and we're heading into October here. So it feels like fall here in Charlotte.
Yeah, yeah. There's so much happening, and you mentioned the equinox. Scientifically, there's, the things that I'm talking to other researchers and scientists about, and it's just incredible what's going on. And Josh, the one thing that I really feel bad about is the advancement is coming so rapidly and so profusely that more and more people are being left behind.
Yeah.
They're just so lost in their crap. That's the best way I could put it. And they're just missing out on the potential that these new scientific discoveries are coming up with, and
I think that's, just to interrupt you, I think that's an interesting perspective because I feel like, yes, what you're saying is true, and now more than ever, it's happening more quickly. But I think there's also a lot of people on the cutting edge that are excited about it and embracing it, and like that's what I see, and I'm excited about that. I think that it'll naturally kind of not leave people behind, but those people who aren't ready to embrace that, they're either gonna come around to it, or they're gonna become further separated from it. And I think both of those things are probably a good thing.
yeah, unfortunately, yeah, that's the part that I was referring to, the people that are not pursuing it, or not following it. And I want to share something with you, and hopefully with your audience as well as part of my audience. I was listening to a documentary by Laszlo, Irvin Laszlo. Wonderful, wonderful man, wonderful mind. And uh, he was saying that uh, science has recently discovered a way of rejuvenating human cells,
Mm,
and uh, what they're using as a basis is something called the zebra fish. And the zebra fish is it's not rare, but it's close to being rare. And but it has 95% alliance with human DNA. So they were able to find a way of rejuvenating human cells, theoretically, totally, you know, infinite life, right? Eternal life. However, they're not doing that because they're not quite ready. But what they are doing is they're using the technology to extend life and quality of life by 20 to 30 years. Okay. But they're not telling people.
mm,
The reason they're not telling people is because they don't have enough of the resources to feed the planet.
mm.
Which takes me to a political subject. COVID and other wars. There is a movement, a universal movement, to reduce the population of the planet. And I'm very concerned about that.
Hmm.
Uh, as a parent, as a grandparent, um, what does this mean for my children, or my grandchildren, and for other good people in the world? You
Yeah.
say you say it's a better world if we have only half the population. Well, I don't know about that. Suppose the half the population that remains are crooks, thieves,
Right.
mindless, uh, mindless credentials. Uh, how do you know that? COVID didn't make a distinction between intelligent and good people. It just made people sick,
Hmm.
well, regardless of their station in life. So, a word to the wise is sufficient. Don't let them get away with it. If they were smart enough to come up with a system that could technically create eternal life cellularly, well, they should be smart enough to create enough to feed the entire planet, um, or at least most of the planet anyway. So, I'm sharing that with as many people as I can, because I think that that can lead to some nasty stuff, and work that guys like you are doing, um, uh, it goes to waste.
Yeah.
It doesn't, all of a sudden it doesn't have any meaning, because then it becomes a matter of physical survival,
Hmm.
not spiritual, not
Yeah,
mental.
I might see it a different way. I think the spiritual survival and focus is the antidote to what you're talking about. Now, I'll give you an example. People continually come up to me, friends, wherever I am, talk about gas prices. Gas is up to this. Did you see this price? Gas is up to this. It's not that I don't care about gas prices or why gas prices are rising, but I can't do anything about that. So I've trained myself in my mind to, I think there's a fine line here with what you're saying about what we have control over. I think now more than ever, there are people politically getting involved. You see, parents showing up at school boards more often than ever, and, people being involved in their local precincts and local governments. So stuff like
Yes.
that is within our control, I think is a positive thing. But we can't, there's so much doom and gloom out there that and it's put in front of our face so often. Like, look at COVID and on a news cycle for something that was very serious, but was not nearly to the degree, at least in my opinion, especially for as long as it was. It was definitely scary in the beginning. We can't forget about that. But for as much mind share that it took up was not proportional in my eyes. And I think this current war going on, there's a lot of jockeying with the powers that be. I think what's happening is that the film, the glaze over which a lot of this stuff was hidden and behind the scenes is starting to fall, and we're seeing people for who they are. And there's a lot of bad hombres that are pulling these strings, but we're seeing them for who they are.
Yeah.
And there will become a time, we're getting closer and closer to where we're going to see if they do the right thing or the wrong thing, quote unquote. There's some very catastrophic things that could uh, develop because of that, but that remains to be seen, right? And so part of the battle, quote unquote, is the spiritual nature, to trust that what is happening and unfolding is part of the process. And like you're saying, not to be so far on that side of the fence with like, well, that means I don't do anything about it. I think now more than ever, people are. There's a great image of a picture of a guy with a whip, and there's like 100 people knelt before him. Have you ever seen this? And there's three pictures. So the first one is him whipping everybody. Everybody's kneeling. The next picture is one guy standing, and the guy's still whipping. And then the next picture is everybody standing.
Yes.
Yeah. So I feel like we're probably somewhere in between the second and the third picture,
Third
and
picture,
we're
yes.
starting to stand up and recognize, that's my role and what I do as a coach. I'm giving and adding value to the world. Now, I've made my peace with being able to be paid for that. I don't think you have to be charitable or give it up for free. You can also be paid to do things like this.
Of course,
But
of
people
course.
all over the world are rising up, I think, and recognizing what's actually happening in the world, and that we're not going to stand for that, and we're going to play our part. It's not just pointing fingers and complaining and just wondering what can be done. It's actually doing something about it in alignment with what we do well and naturally as human beings, and caring for each other and loving each other. And guess
Yeah,
what? The top end of that's it's getting a lot more tipsy turvy, and the stability is going away from these people who have been at this for quite some time. If we were to throw out some names, some of these people have been in power for decades, lobbying and pulling the strings. And a lot of people, these are household names for a lot of people, and we're recognizing who are these bad hombres, and we're going to hold them accountable. And it's not something we can just overnight do. It's a process, and we're seeing that some of that slip out before our very eyes with the war and some of these other things.
yeah, I totally agree, and you're right on target with that. The leadership, and I think we've discussed this before. The leadership in the world is very, very poor, but I do see that there are changes that are starting to occur. The mindset is different. It's more responsible. The people, there are, we're beginning to see uh, 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 leaders, revolutionaries that are not afraid to risk it all. Which was a lesson of our American heritage.
Mm,
I mean,
right.
if kids were only taught the American Revolution and the philosophy behind the revolution and the founding fathers, I think that they would look at life a lot different. I mean, the things, the risks that those people took,
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of them were very um, well-rounded. They were well off, well educated, and they had good standing.
Mm,
You know, they could just about call whatever shots they wanted with Mother England, but they decided no, there was something missing. There was something better,
yeah.
and that's been missing. Over the past number of decades, certainly from America anyway,
Mm-hmm.
as well as from the rest of the world. But the rest of the world hasn't experienced it the way America has. And I think that that spirit coming coming back is vital to the universe. It's
Mm-hmm.
vital to a world that really means something. It's like the divine plan.
Yes.
You, you know what I'm saying, Josh?
Oh, yeah.
And it's almost like sometimes I get this notion that there's this other world, that spirit, and there's a plan there to
Mm-hmm.
take that world, which has a beauty to it, and turn it into a physical reality.
Mm,
And that's what we're going through.
yeah.
And like a giant learning process, giant feedback process,
Yeah.
and laying it out there and doing and saying things that people would consider dangerous or revolutionary, but valid. That's that's the key.
Right.
That's the key. And my granddaughter the other day said to me, Pappy, she said, you talk a lot about values and virtues. What's the difference? And I said, well, virtues are pure. virtues are something that have power within themselves. Values is something that you give to something, right?
Right.
Hitler had values.
Mm.
Mussolini had values, right? Pablo Escobar had values, but virtue, I don't think so. I don't think so. So there's a significant difference between living your life based on virtue and living your life based on values.
Mhm.
So I think I see a little bit of that starting to occur. I think people are starting to realize,
Oh, yeah.
uh, but we've got, the main thing is we've got to get away from this notion that there is this higher entity that's going to take care of us,
Mm.
whether it's the government, whether it's the church,
Yeah.
or whether it's God.
As you know, I'm a frequent journaler, and just this morning, Dr. Bob, I wrote down, "No one is coming to save us." You know, that was what came to me this morning, because that was out of a meditation that came to me. This is up to us, right? This is the true test of what you and I talk about every time we talk, that we are the creators. The creator runs through us.
Yes.
And that's the spiritual battle, is that we are influencing our environment by the thoughts that we have. So that's why it makes me nervous when, all this stuff is shoved down our throat, from the war this and COVID that, to be careful not to regurgitate that and manifest more of it. There's a rejection that you could do. I turn off the news. I don't watch any of that stuff because I don't want it in my life. I'm busy creating other worlds around me that are more important to me, that I have impact and influence over. And I think as people do that, they feel better. There's a feedback loop that's more rewarding. And like you're saying, you're starting to notice more and more people are paying attention to that and yearning for that and getting that.
Yes, absolutely. You're right on target there. And I mean, when you see it, it's very gratifying.
Yes.
And and it's something you could point to other than yourself, right?
Yes.
And but it's very difficult because it's easy to say, well, the government isn't going to take care of you,
Oh, yeah.
but it's very difficult to say God isn't going to protect you.
Yeah.
People don't want to hear that. And first of all, they don't believe it, because
Yeah.
they've been taught all their lives that this is God's will. I mean, that's, I was raised a Catholic. That's what I was taught, when something bad happens, well, it's God's will. What are you talking about? It's his will. He wants me to suffer like this. He wants that poor kid to suffer like that. What do you mean? But, but the point, yeah, I mean, what you're saying is so absolutely crystal clear and valid, that we are the creators.
Yes.
We're the people. Well, when things happen, they happen because of us. In some way, us.
Yeah.
That's why leadership is so important, that when you see somebody that's above the fray, who knows how to handle adversity and
Mm.
handles it with class and wisdom, that's the leader.
Yeah.
That's the person, that's the male or female that you gotta follow. You gotta listen to that person.
They're
Right?
practicing
Because
the blueprint for what to do. And a lot of people don't even know
yes,
what it looks like, but when they see it, they know it.
right, exactly. And that's what I'm trying to put forward in this book,
Yeah, I love that. That's great.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, the purpose of being, because that's exactly what we're supposed to be doing. It's so easy to get into an argument with somebody, but to sit there and say, well, I see your point, here's my point, here's something else that's even better than your point and my point, and find it,
Yeah.
right?
Oh, yeah.
And that leads us down a path that it's such a heartwarming environment.
Mm,
You know, that's why I enjoy doing what you and I are doing, being with people like yourself. Um, and I think it's my age. I've gotten to the point where I'm not interested in sitting around in a social gathering and talking about politics or
yeah.
society
Don't
or
have time for that
Hollywood
anymore.
or
Yeah.
no, I'm like, it's bull. To me, you know, a friend of mine, I don't know how we got into. We were playing bridge, and he said something about Nietzsche. You know, he quoted Nietzsche, and I said, well, Nietzsche also said God is dead. You know, he said, well, that part of Nietzsche I don't understand. I said, well, you don't understand what Nietzsche meant by that. He didn't mean that God is dead. He meant that society believes the, the actions of society are that God is dead
Yeah.
because society doesn't live its life as if there is a God.
Mm,
Okay.
yeah.
And that's the fallacy. God is going to take care of me. But at the same time, I really don't want to go along with what God has to say.
Right.
Right? Well, hello.
Yeah.
Welcome to the real world. But when you listen to the great minds of history, there was one the other day that I read that I thought was absolutely stunning by Plato. And Plato said the greatest gift to mankind is death. And it struck me.
Mm,
I mean, I know what he meant by that, but when I mentioned that to my family and a few friends, they say, what are you drunk? what, what kind of pills are you taking? That medicine's getting to you. Well, think about it. Think about it. You think 100 years is a long time, but not when you're talking about eternity. Now you're talking about the eternal adventure,
mm.
which is what we're living, and you might as well do it right.
That's right. I think I watched a video a few years ago on big history, and it's the expansion, right? Our perspective of history is the few short years that we get on this earth, but we're a part of a greater experience going on. And when you understand how small of a role that we play in the greater cosmos, first of all, it makes you feel small, but second of all, it doesn't, because it makes you think about the time that you do have, and we're bearing witness to the miracle of consciousness and of life. We get to witness and be a part of this experience. I think that's a
Yeah,
miracle. It's a beautiful thing, and it's something to appreciate. And it wouldn't be as much of a miracle or as beautiful if we got to live it forever and just be around all the time. There's something valuable about making it just a section of time that we get to experience, because it also forces us to make it count.
yeah, a small slice of time, uh, and to to see how we waste it sometimes with the nonsense that we indulge in and put ourselves through and put others through. Um, I'm at that point stage in my life where I can't. I hate myself when I do that. But I am finding that I'm doing it less and less and less as I'm
Yeah,
getting older.
I
Um,
I think
and
it takes great courage to do that, because a lot of people don't live like that, right? So it's not going to be congruent with even a lot of the people that you love and care about. You risk people thinking that you're crazy because you're prioritizing different things. So I think it takes a lot of courage.
yeah, 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 to look at things, I mean, I think one of the hardest things to do is to look at things objectively, especially personal things. That, your child does something wrong, they insult another kid or they slap another kid, and they're wrong for the reasons that they're doing it. And, in most cases, you want to defend your child, but they're wrong. And you have to acknowledge that, and you have to live with that, and you have to deal with it in an objective fashion. And that hurts. That hurts, especially when they're young and they don't know. You gotta deal with it. I don't know if I mentioned to you, but I have a young grandson. He's just turned 4, and he's had leukemia for 2.5 years of his life, and he doesn't get to integrate with other kids because they're always worried that he's going to catch something or whatever,
Mm,
But he runs around and he'll grab a kid and, you want to play with me? You want to, and it just tears you apart.
yeah,
Just tears you apart. But you can't let that happen. You can't let that happen. As much as you want to, as much as you see the pain and the sorrow in the kid's eye, you still have to understand that it, the, the best welfare is no, no. And it's the same thing when, socially, when you have adults and they're doing something to improve their standing and degrading somebody else.
yeah,
No, no, and we're all guilty of that at different times in different ways. But you got to recover. You got to recover from that, and you have to learn by it and become a stronger and better person for it. You're better off shutting up and being in the back, than you are, you know, and and it's funny how different things. I remember I was playing in a football game in my youth, and I tackled the guy, and I really smeared him. I mean, we came head on, and I just lifted him right up off the ground as he came into me, and just knocked him back about 4 or 5 yards. And the crowd, the crowd acknowledged it. It was a big crowd. And when we came off the field, there were a couple of guys in the stand that I knew, and they said to this other teammate of mine, "Was that you that made the tackle?" And he said, "Yeah, that was me." And they said, "Boy, that was some piece. Hey, Jimmy made that tackle," And I didn't say anything, and I always wondered, why didn't I say something? Because it wasn't important.
mm,
It wasn't the thing that made the moment.
yeah,
It was an internal thing. The external thing was the glorification that other people had of the act,
right,
and they put that action within a specific person, and it was the wrong person.
mm,
But the action was not not the wrong thing.
right,
So I think in a way that taught me something that I've always had to live with. But to kind of summarize this whole thing, what I see you doing is just terrific. I really admire your dedication and your efforts not only in your practice, but with the street hockey and, you know, things of that sort. I really, it's good to know that there are people like you in the world that I can communicate with and have a deep and profound relationship with, even though sometimes I don't see it for a couple of months or for weeks. But let's keep it going, though. I
Yeah,
want to do it again soon.
thank
How's
you.
that?
Yeah, thank
Okay.
you very much for those kind words. And yeah, thanks for sharing part of your perspective as well, Dr. Bob. I always appreciate it.
Okay, buddy. All right. So hopefully we'll see you next week.
Absolutely. We'll see you next time.
Okay,
All right.
good.
Take care.